Commander Jack Harrison stared at the blue-green planet through the viewing screen of his ship. Earth looked peaceful from orbit, but the data told a different story. His hands gripped the edge of the console as he read the final survey report again. "Still can't believe it, sir?" asked Dr. Lily Morgan, looking up from her own screen. "How do they survive down there?" Jack shook his head. "Extreme temperature changes, powerful storms, earthquakes, floods, predators, diseases, and that's just the natural threats." Lily nodded. "By all our standards, humans shouldn't exist. Earth is beyond our Class 3 Deathworld rating." The Galactic Federation had been watching Earth from afar for decades. Most council members believed the reports were wrong. No intelligent life could evolve on such a hostile planet. But here they were, about to make first official contact with a species that lived in conditions that would kill most galactic citizens within minutes. "Time to suit up," Jack said to his team. "Remember, full environmental protection. We don't know what Earth organisms might do to our biology." Security Officer Kate Miller checked her equipment one last time. "Are we sure these humans are friendly? Anything that survives in those conditions has to be tough." "The observation teams report they're surprisingly peaceful for a Deathworld species," said Sam Peters, the cultural analyst, "though they do have a long history of fighting among themselves." Jack's team boarded the shuttle, each lost in their own thoughts. This mission would make or break their careers. The first official diplomatic contact with Earth carried enormous responsibility. As they entered Earth's atmosphere, the shuttle shook violently. "Just air turbulence," the pilot said calmly. "Earth's atmosphere is dense and unstable compared to standard worlds." They landed in an open area where a group of humans waited. Jack was surprised to see them standing in the open air, without any protective gear. "They'd breathe this atmosphere directly," Kate whispered, checking her suit readouts. "The oxygen levels alone would make most species hyperactive and anxious." The shuttle door opened, and despite their protective suits, the team felt Earth's higher gravity pulling at them immediately. A human male stepped forward as Jack and his team emerged. He was smiling, showing his teeth in what the briefing had assured them was a friendly gesture, not a threat display. "Commander Harrison, I'm Dr. Alan Wright, Earth's United Nations representative. Welcome to Earth." Jack's translator converted the sound waves into standard galactic language. He stepped forward carefully, feeling heavy in the gravity. "Dr. Wright, I bring greetings from the Galactic Federation of Allied Worlds." The human delegation showed no signs of discomfort in the chilly morning air. Jack's sensors indicated the temperature was only 15 degrees Celsius, cold enough to slow metabolic functions in many species. "We've prepared a special facility for your comfort," Dr. Wright said. "We understand Earth conditions may be challenging for you." As they walked toward waiting vehicles, a small flying creature landed on Dr. Wright's shoulder. Instead of reacting with alarm, Wright simply brushed it away. "Was that a parasite?" Kate asked quietly. "Just a butterfly," Sam answered, consulting his database. "Harmless, apparently." The humans led them to a building complex where the signs in human writing had been supplemented with galactic standard symbols. Inside, Jack was relieved to find the environment had been adjusted to be more comfortable for his team. "We'll begin formal talks tomorrow," Dr. Wright said. "Today, please rest and adjust. We've prepared information about Earth you might find useful." After the humans left them to settle in, Jack turned to his team. "Initial impressions." Lily looked up from her scanner. "They don't even seem to notice they're living in conditions we classify as lethal. Did you see how they just walk around in that atmosphere?" Sam nodded. "Their buildings are lightly constructed too, considering the gravity and weather conditions." "They seem nice," Kate said, sounding surprised. "But I can't help wondering how a species evolves intelligence in an environment that should kill them. What kind of creatures must they be to not just survive here, but thrive?" Jack looked out the window at the blue sky and distant mountains. "That's exactly what we're here to find out." The Federation team spent their first week on Earth in the special compound in Colorado. The humans had tried to make it comfortable, but even with adjusted gravity and filtered air, Earth felt strange to them. Dr. Lily Morgan worked day and night studying Earth's plants and animals. She sat now in the research lab, surrounded by screens showing images of Earth's creatures. There are over 8 million different animal species on this planet, she told Jack as he entered. Most planets have a few hundred at most. Jack looked at the images scrolling by. How do humans keep track of them all? They don't, Lily said with a small laugh. They discover new ones every day. And that's not counting the microorganisms. Earth has billions of different bacteria and viruses living here. How do humans survive that? Jack asked, genuinely puzzled. Their immune systems are unlike anything we've seen before, Lily said, pulling up a diagram of human biology. They're constantly fighting off invaders. Their bodies are basically war zones. A knock at the door interrupted them. Major Olivia Grant, their human military liaison, stood there with a friendly smile. Commander Harrison, Dr. Wright was wondering if you'd like to join us for a hike today. We thought you might like to see some of our natural landscape. Jack hesitated. Outside, in the Earth environment. We've prepared special suits for you, Olivia said, light and comfortable, but they'll filter the air and protect you from direct contact with our organisms. 2 hours later, Jack and his team followed Olivia up a mountain trail. Despite their protective gear, they'd moved slowly in Earth's gravity. We do this for fun, Olivia explained, not even breathing hard as she waited for them to catch up. I try to hike at least once a week. Sam Peters, the cultural analyst, stopped to look at the view. You climb mountains for enjoyment? Sure, Olivia said. This is just a small one too. Some people climb ones that are 5 miles high, where the air is so thin you need oxygen tanks. Kate Miller, the security officer, stared at her. You go to places where you can't breathe, intentionally. Olivia just smiled and continued up the path. That evening, the Federation team joined several humans for dinner. Jack watched nervously as the specially prepared food was brought out. We've made separate meals for you, Dr. Wright explained. Your scientists gave us your nutritional requirements. Jack nodded gratefully. Then he watched in horror as the humans began eating their own food. One man picked up a small green pod and bit into it. His face turned red, and he reached for water. Are you being poisoned? Kate asked, half rising from her chair. The humans laughed. It's just a jalapeno pepper, the man explained. It's spicy. We eat them for flavor. You eat things that cause you pain? Sam asked, making notes on his tablet. For pleasure? It's not exactly pain, Dr. Wright said. More like intense sensation. Later, Jack watched as the humans poured dark liquids into glasses. What is that? He asked. This is wine, a woman named Linda explained. And this is coffee. Would you like to try some? Lily scanned both liquids with her device and gasped. These contain alcohol and caffeine. They're neurotoxins. Yes, Linda said casually. The wine helps us relax, and the coffee helps us stay alert. You deliberately consume toxins to alter your brain function. Jack couldn't keep the shock from his voice. Just a little, Linda said with a smile. Everything in moderation. Back in their quarters that night, Jack's team compared notes. They seek out dangerous activities for fun, Kate said. Climbing, swimming in large bodies of water, running long distances. And they eat toxins and irritants deliberately, Lily added. Their food would kill most species in the Federation. Sam scrolled through his notes. They live in areas with regular natural disasters too. Hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, extreme temperatures. They just rebuild and continue. Jack looked out the window at the night sky. I don't think the Federation truly understands what we're dealing with here. These humans don't just survive on a death world. They seem to thrive on challenge itself. Should we be afraid of them? Kate asked quietly. Jack considered the question. I don't know yet, But I do know we need to update our classification of Earth. This planet is something beyond a death world. Dr. Lily Morgan rushed into the meeting room, where the rest of the Federation team waited. Her face looked pale, and her hand shook slightly as she placed her data tablet on the table. "I've finished my analysis," she said, her voice quiet. "Earth isn't a Class 3 death world. It's something else entirely." Jack leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Lily tapped her screen, and a hologram appeared above the table showing Earth's statistics compared to other known planets. "Look at these numbers," she said. "The gravity is 30% stronger than what most Federation species evolved in. The temperature range is extreme, from -50 degrees to +50 degrees Celsius, depending on location and season." Sam whistled softly. "Most species would die in either extreme." "That's not all," Lily continued. "The atmospheric pressure would crush many species. The oxygen level is high enough to be toxic to some. The planet experiences regular natural disasters: earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, floods, droughts, wildfires. And yet humans build their cities right in these danger zones," Kate added. "They have towns next to active volcanoes." Lily nodded. "Plus, the biological threats are beyond anything in our classification system. Earth has millions of different bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites that can cause disease. Most planets have a few dozen at most." Jack stood up and paced the room. "We need to report this to the Federation Council immediately." The team spent hours preparing their report. When it was ready, Jack sent it through their secure communication channel to the Council. The response came faster than expected. "They don't believe us," Jack said, reading the message. "They think our equipment must be malfunctioning." "Ask them to send their own survey team," Sam suggested. "Let them see for themselves." While waiting for the Council's decision, the Federation team continued their research. They were invited to observe a human sporting event called Extreme Sports Competition. The team sat in a special enclosed viewing area as humans performed what looked like suicide attempts, jumping from great heights, flipping on wheeled boards, racing down mountains on thin strips of material. "Why are they doing this?" Kate asked Dr. Wright, who sat next to them. "For fun," he replied simply. "And the challenge." "But they could die," Jack said, watching a human on a bicycle flip upside down in the air. "That's part of what makes it exciting," Dr. Wright explained, "pushing the limits of what's possible." Later, as they watched humans swimming in the ocean, Lily ran more scans. "The water they're swimming in contains thousands of microorganisms," she reported. "Plus, there are large predatory fish in these waters, and humans can't even breathe in water." "They call it refreshing," Sam said, reviewing his cultural notes. That night, Jack received an urgent message from the Federation Council. Their report had caused panic among several species. Some council members were suggesting that humans might be too dangerous to allow into the galactic community. "They think humans are a threat," Jack told his team, "because they've evolved in conditions that would kill most of us." "Are they?" Kate asked. "A threat, I mean." "I don't think so," Jack said slowly. "They've been nothing but kind to us. But I understand the Council's fear. A species that considers our normal safety protocols as optional, that seeks out danger for enjoyment. It's concerning from a certain point of view." "We need more information," Lily decided. "We need to understand how humans think, not just how they survive." The next morning, a message arrived from the Council. They wanted the team to conduct a series of tests on human capabilities without revealing the true purpose. They needed to know exactly what humans could withstand. Jack read the message twice, feeling uncomfortable. "They want us to test human limits, without telling the humans why." "Is that ethical?" Sam asked. "I don't know," Jack admitted. "But I do know that if we don't do it properly, the Council might decide humans are too dangerous to join the Federation. We need to understand them better." He looked out the window at the busy human city nearby. "For their sake, and perhaps for hours too. Jack didn't sleep well that night. The Federation Council wanted him to test humans without their knowledge. It felt wrong, but he also understood the worry. If humans joined the galactic community, everyone needed to know what they could do. The next morning, he called his team together. "We'll do the tests, but we'll be honest about it," Jack decided. "We'll tell them we need to understand human abilities for compatibility reasons. That's not a lie." Dr. Wright seemed pleased when Jack suggested a series of cultural exchange activities to test how well humans and Federation species might work together. He quickly gathered volunteers, including scientist Diane Kelly and diplomat Eric Green. "We're happy to help," Diane said with a smile. "What kind of activities did you have in mind?" The first test focused on temperature tolerance. Jack's team created a special room where the temperature could change rapidly. "On our home planets, we maintain very stable environments," Jack explained to the humans. "We need to understand how temperature variations might affect joint projects." The humans entered the room wearing only their normal clothes. The temperature started at 20 degrees Celsius, then dropped to 5 degrees. "Are you comfortable?" Lily asked through the communication system. "It's a bit chilly," Eric said, rubbing his arms. "I could use a jacket, but it's fine." They lowered the temperature to 0 degrees. The humans huddled together but continued talking normally. Jack's team watched in amazement. "Their core temperature is barely changing," Lily reported, looking at her scanner. "They're uncomfortable, but not in danger." When they raised the temperature to 35 degrees Celsius, the humans simply removed some clothing layers and continued their conversation, now sweating slightly. "Most Federation species would need medical attention at either extreme," Kate whispered. The next test examined sleep deprivation. Humans normally needed about 8 hours of sleep each day, similar to many Federation species. "We're studying how different species handle emergency situations when rest isn't possible," Jack told the volunteers. The humans stayed awake for 24 hours, performing various mental and physical tasks. They became slower and irritable, but remained functional. "I've pulled all-nighters before," Diane said, yawning as she completed a puzzle. "During my doctorate, I once stayed awake for 3 days finishing my research." Jack couldn't hide his shock. 3 days, without any sleep. "I don't recommend it," Diane laughed. "I hallucinated a little by the end, but I got my degree." The physical endurance test surprised the Federation team the most. The humans ran on treadmills while carrying heavy packs. "We need to know if we can work together in high-gravity environments," Sam explained. After an hour, the humans were tired and sweaty, but still running. Eric even started singing to keep his spirits up. "They're producing chemicals that block their pain," Lily said, checking her readings. "Endorphins and adrenaline. They're actually enjoying the challenge." The final test involved healing. This one troubled Jack the most, but the council insisted they needed data. "We need to understand how different species heal from minor injuries," Jack told Dr. Wright. "Would any volunteers allow a small cut to be monitored as it heals?" 3 humans agreed. A medical officer made a small, controlled cut on each volunteer's arm, then sealed it with what humans called a Band-Aid. "This is nothing," one volunteer said. "I've cut myself worse cooking dinner." Over the next few days, Lily documented the healing process. She couldn't believe how quickly the wounds closed. "Their bodies rebuild damaged tissue within days," she told Jack, "and they have special cells that fight infection at the wound site. It's remarkable." When all tests were complete, Jack prepared his report for the council. The results were clear. Humans could endure conditions that would kill most Federation species. They could function without sleep, tolerate extreme temperatures, endure physical stress, and heal rapidly from injuries. "What will the council do with this information?" Sam asked. "I don't know," Jack admitted, "but I'm starting to think the humans are more amazing than dangerous." Kate looked less convinced. Anything that tough could be a serious threat if they wanted to be. "That's the real question, isn't it?" Jack said quietly. Not what humans can survive, but what they choose to do with that ability. Sam Peters spent 3 days analyzing the test results. When he finally emerged from his room, he looked both excited and worried. "I found something," he told Jack and the others. "It's not just that humans can survive difficult conditions. They actually seek them out. They're programmed to do it." "What do you mean, programmed?" Jack asked. Sam showed them brain scans from the human volunteers. Their brains release reward chemicals when they overcome challenges. The harder the challenge, the bigger the reward. Lily leaned closer to the screen. "So they're actually addicted to difficulty. That explains a lot." "It's how they evolved," Sam continued. "While most species adapt to fit their environment, humans adapted by constantly pushing their limits and changing their environment to suit them." Kate frowned. "That makes them unpredictable and potentially very dangerous." Jack thought about this for a long time. Finally, he decided to speak directly with Dr. Wright. They met in the garden of the compound, where earth plants grew in carefully arranged patterns. "I need to ask you something important," Jack said. "Why do humans constantly seek out challenges and dangers?" "Our data shows your bodies actually reward you for it." Dr. Wright smiled. "You've discovered our secret." He bent down to pull a small weed from between the flowers. "We call it many things: curiosity, ambition, the desire to explore. But yes, we're driven to push boundaries." "Doesn't that make your society chaotic?" Jack asked. "If everyone is always seeking new challenges." "Sometimes," Dr. Wright admitted. "But it's also how we've progressed. Every invention, every discovery, every leap forward came because someone wasn't satisfied with the way things were." While they talked, Jack's communicator beeped. The news wasn't good. Someone had leaked information about Earth's reclassification to the galactic media. Several aggressive species were demanding that Earth be quarantined immediately. "They're afraid of you," Jack told Dr. Wright honestly. "Many species in the Federation evolved in safe, stable environments. The idea of a species that thrives on challenge and can survive conditions they consider fatal, it frightens them." Dr. Wright looked troubled. "We don't want to frighten anyone. We just want to join the galactic community and learn from other species." "I believe you," Jack said, "but not everyone will." Back in their quarters, Jack's team watched news feeds from across the galaxy. The reports about humans were growing more exaggerated with each telling. "They're saying humans can survive in vacuum," Lily said in disbelief, "and that they drink acid for enjoyment." "Well, they do drink coffee and alcohol," Sam pointed out. "Those would be considered poisons on many worlds." Jack paced the room. "We need to control this situation before it gets worse." That evening, representatives from 3 Federation species arrived on Earth. They requested an immediate meeting with human leaders and the survey team. The largest visitor, Ambassador Zorax from a low-gravity world, spoke first. "We have serious concerns about Earth joining the Federation. Your species presents unknown risks." Dr. Wright tried to reassure them. "Humans have had our violent periods in history, but we've worked hard to build a peaceful society." "It's not just about violence," said another visitor, a small blue being named Ilara. "It's about compatibility. Your idea of safe conditions would kill most of us. Your food would poison us. Your idea of entertainment would terrify us." Jack watched the humans carefully. He expected them to be angry at these accusations. Instead, Dr. Wright and his team looked concerned and thoughtful. "Perhaps we need to learn more about each other," Diane Kelly suggested. "We could develop special protocols for human interactions with other species." Eric Green nodded. "We're very adaptable. We can adjust our behavior and environments to make others comfortable." Jack realized something important in that moment. The same ability that made humans dangerous, their adaptability, also made them uniquely suited to find solutions. While other species might give up when faced with a difficult problem, humans would keep trying new approaches until they succeeded. Maybe that's their greatest strength, Jack thought. Not their physical toughness, but their refusal to accept limitations. The Federation visitors stayed for 3 days, attending meetings and observing humans in their daily lives. On the last day, they organized a cultural exchange event where each species shared food, music, and art from their homeworlds. The large meeting hall was filled with displays from a dozen different planets. Jack watched as humans moved from table to table, asking questions and showing genuine interest in each culture. At the refreshment area, disaster nearly happened. A human diplomat named Paul reached for what he thought was a bowl of snacks. Jack recognized it too late. It was actually a decorative display of minerals from Zorax's homeworld. Several were highly toxic to most life forms. "Wait," Jack called, but Paul had already popped one into his mouth. Everyone froze. Ambassador Zorax made a high-pitched sound of alarm. The small blue mineral Paul had eaten contained compounds that could dissolve internal organs in most species. "Spit it out," Jack shouted. Paul looked confused but obeyed, spitting the mineral into a napkin. "I'm sorry," he said. "I thought it was candy." Dr. Lily rushed over with her medical scanner. "Are you feeling any burning sensation? Numbness? Difficulty breathing?" Paul shook his head. It just tasted really bitter, like super strong metal. The Federation visitors backed away. Ambassador Zorax was trembling. "Your human just consumed Zorthanite," he whispered to Jack. "It's lethal to every tested species in the galaxy." Dr. Wright quickly took control of the situation. "Let's get Paul to the medical unit to be safe," he said calmly. "And please accept our sincere apologies for the misunderstanding." As Paul was led away, seemingly unharmed, the mood in the room changed. The 3 Federation visitors huddled together, speaking quickly in their own languages. "This is bad," San whispered to Jack. "They think humans are immune to poisons." An hour later, Paul returned from the medical unit, looking embarrassed but completely healthy. "The doctor says I'm fine," he reported. "The mineral broke down in my stomach acid before it could do any damage." Ambassador Ilara, the small blue being, approached Dr. Wright. "We must depart immediately," she announced. "Our ships are preparing now." "But we were scheduled for 2 more days of talks," Dr. Wright said, surprised. "That is no longer possible," Ilara replied. Her large eyes darted nervously to Paul. "We will submit our reports to the Federation Council." After the visitors left, Jack met with his team and the human representatives. The atmosphere was tense. "What just happened?" Dr. Wright asked. "Why did they leave so suddenly?" Lily explained. "The mineral Paul accidentally ate is deadly poison to most galactic species. They're frightened because he suffered no serious effects." "They think we're immune to poisons," Kate added, "which makes them see humans as potential biological weapons." Eric Green looked shocked. "That's ridiculous. It was just a misunderstanding." "To them, it's more evidence that humans are dangerous," Jack said quietly. "You survive in conditions they consider lethal. You enjoy activities they consider terrifying. And now they believe you can consume deadly toxins without harm." Sam checked his data tablet. Federation news channels are already reporting the incident. They're calling humans the indestructible species and suggesting quarantine measures. Dr. Wright sat down heavily. "This is getting out of hand. We're not indestructible or dangerous. We just evolved differently." Lily had been running more tests since the incident. "Actually, that's not entirely true," she said. "Humans aren't immune to that mineral. But your species has evolved alongside thousands of toxic plants and animals. Your livers and digestive systems are exceptionally good at filtering toxins. Many human foods contain small amounts of compounds that would be dangerous in larger doses," Sam added. "Your body's developed ways to handle them." Dr. Morgan continued. "I've been studying human medical practices too. You've historically consumed small amounts of toxic substances to build immunity, a practice called mithridatism. Most species find that concept horrifying." Jack looked at the troubled faces of the humans around him. "The Federation doesn't understand you yet," he said gently, "and fear often comes from misunderstanding." Dr. Wright nodded slowly. "So how do we help them understand?" "We need to show them that human adaptability isn't a threat," Jack replied. "Somehow, we need to demonstrate that your unique abilities can benefit the entire galactic community." No one realized that across the compound, a much more serious misunderstanding was about to unfold. Late that night, alarms blared throughout the compound. Jack woke instantly, grabbing his communicator. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Security breach in Section 5, Kate's voice replied. "The research lab." Jack rushed to the lab, meeting Kate and Lily in the hallway. When they arrived, they found 3 Federation security officers wearing environmental suits. They were removing equipment from the sealed containers. "Stop," Jack ordered. "What are you doing?" The leader turned. Jack recognized him as Officer Drav from the Federation Council security team. "Commander Harrison," Drav said coldly, "we're following orders from the Security Council. Earth has been classified as a Level 1 threat. We're authorized to take measures to protect the Federation." "What measures?" Lily asked, her voice shaking. Before Drav could answer, Sam burst into the room. "Jack, environmental sensors are detecting an unknown agent spreading through the air system." Jack stared at the container in Drav's hands. "What have you done?" "It's a containment protocol," Drav replied. "The pathogen targets specific DNA sequences. It's harmless to Federation species but will temporarily incapacitate humans, allowing us to establish proper quarantine procedures." "You released a bioweapon." Jack couldn't believe what he was hearing. "A security measure," Drav corrected. "The humans will experience mild symptoms while we secure their leadership and technology." The room's communication panel lit up. Dr. Wright's face appeared on the screen. "Commander Harrison, we have people falling ill throughout the compound and in the nearby town. What's happening?" Jack turned furiously to Drav. "You said mild symptoms." Drav looked genuinely confused. The pathogen was designed to cause nothing more than temporary drowsiness. It shouldn't. Alarms blared again. Dr. Morgan rushed to her equipment, scanning the air. "It's mutating," she said in horror. "It's reacting with something in Earth's atmosphere." For the next 12 hours, chaos reigned. The Federation medical team worked alongside human doctors to treat the affected humans. To everyone's surprise, most humans developed only mild symptoms: fever, coughing, and fatigue. Only a few showed more serious effects. "I don't understand," Drav said, watching the medical team's work. "This pathogen was engineered to be much more potent. The humans should all be unconscious by now." Dr. Morgan had been analyzing blood samples from the affected humans. She looked up from her microscope with amazement on her face. "Their immune systems are fighting it," she told Jack. "And not just fighting. They're learning from it. Look at this." On her screen, Jack could see microscopic cells surrounding and destroying the pathogen. "Their white blood cells are adapting to recognize the pathogen," Lily explained. "And the humans who show the mildest symptoms have previously been exposed to similar viruses. Their bodies remember how to fight them." "That's impossible," Drav whispered. "This pathogen was created using advanced technology. No natural immune system should be able to combat it so effectively." Dr. Wright, who had only developed mild symptoms himself, joined them in the lab. "Throughout our history, humans have faced countless diseases. Our bodies evolved to adapt and remember. We call it immunological memory." Drav looked shaken. "You mean every time you face a disease?" "We get better at fighting it," Dr. Wright confirmed. "And not just as individuals. Our medical knowledge grows too. We've already isolated your pathogen and are developing treatments." Jack turned to Drav with cold anger. "Your security measure has failed, and you've violated every diplomatic protocol in the Federation Charter. I'm relieving you of duty and placing you under arrest." To Jack's surprise, Drav didn't resist. He seemed lost in thought, staring at the humans working in the medical lab. "I was wrong," Drav said quietly. "We all were. We saw their strength as a threat. But look at them. Even now, they're helping each other, adapting, solving problems. They're not monsters. They're survivors. Later, as the crisis began to ease, Jack sent an emergency message to the Federation Council. He didn't mince words. The unauthorized release of a pathogen on Earth has failed, he reported. Most humans have already recovered. But more importantly, this incident has shown us something remarkable about humanity. They don't just survive hardship. They learn from it and grow stronger. Jack looked through the window at Earth's blue sky. We've been asking the wrong question all along. The mystery isn't how humans survive on a death world. The mystery is what such a world can teach the rest of us about resilience. 1 week after the pathogen incident, the Federation Council called an emergency session. Jack and his team attended, along with Dr. Wright, Major Grant, and several other human representatives. The Grand Council chamber was filled with delegates from 100 different worlds. The council leader, a tall being with silvery skin named Vora, called the session to order. "We are here to discuss the status of Earth and its people," she announced. "Recent events have raised serious questions about human compatibility with galactic society." Jack stood to address the council. For days, he had worked on what he would say. Now, looking at the nervous faces of the delegates, he set aside his prepared speech. "Honored Council," Jack began, "when my team first arrived on Earth, we classified it as worse than a death world. We were shocked that humans could survive there, let alone build civilizations. We saw their physical abilities as frightening, their adaptability as dangerous." He paused, looking at the human delegation. "We were wrong," he continued. "Yes, humans evolved on a planet that would kill most of us. Yes, they are physically tougher than many species, but that's not what makes them special." Jack gestured to a display screen, which showed images from Earth hospitals where doctors treated patients, firefighters rushing into burning buildings, rescue workers helping after natural disasters. Humans don't just survive hardship, they help others survive it too. Their unique evolution gave them something rare in the galaxy, the ability to face impossible problems and find solutions. Dr. Wright stepped forward. "We don't want to frighten anyone," he said simply. "We want to help. Throughout our history, humans have used our adaptability to overcome challenges. We would like to put that ability to work for the greater galactic community." Major Grant spoke next. "Earth's conditions forced us to become problem solvers. Where some might see danger, we see opportunity. We don't give up easily." A delegate from a peaceful ocean world raised a fin. "But how can we be sure humans won't use their advantages against others? They evolved in constant struggle. Doesn't that make conflict natural to them?" Lily stood up beside Jack. "Actually, that same evolutionary pressure taught humans cooperation. They survived not just through individual strength, but by working together, by caring for their weak, by sharing knowledge across generations." Sam added, "Humans have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. Their harsh world pushed them to create, to innovate, to find new ways forward." Jack showed more images, human medical advances, environmental restoration projects, space exploration efforts. Humans call Earth home, but they've always looked to the stars with hope, not fear, Jack said. "They dream of a future where different species work together. They've written stories about it for centuries." For hours, the council debated. Some delegates remained fearful, others curious. Finally, Vora called for a decision. "The council proposes a new classification for Earth," she announced, "not as a death world, but as a crucible world, a place where extreme conditions forged a unique species." She continued, "We will establish special protocols for human integration into galactic society. Their representatives will work with medical and scientific teams to ensure safe interaction between species, and we will create a new division within the Federation, the Crisis Response Unit, where human adaptability can be put to good use helping worlds facing natural disasters or other emergencies." The vote was not unanimous, but the majority approved. Earth would join the Federation. Later, as the human delegation prepared to return home, Jack found Dr. Wright looking out at the stars from the station's observation deck. "What are you thinking?" Jack asked. "That we almost lost this chance because of fear," Dr. Wright replied. "On both sides." Jack nodded. "Fear is natural when facing the unknown." "So does curiosity," Dr. Wright said with a smile. "And hope. Those are human traits too." "Maybe not just human traits," Jack suggested. "Maybe they're what all intelligent life shares, in different ways." As their ship departed for Earth, Jack watched the blue-green planet grow larger in the viewing screen. He no longer saw it as a dangerous death world. Now he saw it as a place of incredible beauty and possibility, a crucible that had forged not monsters, but explorers, healers, and dreamers. The galaxy's greatest mystery wasn't that Earth was worse than a death world. The mystery was how such a place could produce beings with such capacity for growth, adaptation, and ultimately, compassion.